I am not ashamed at all to admit that the first thing I did this morning was pop some popcorn, turn on Invincible, and watch the season 3 finale. I'm not even gonna lie, I tried to stream it on my other channel, but I forgot. YouTube be hating. I don't know how people are able to post those full reviews and stuff like that. No, I don't know. I gotta figure it out at some point. But this shit was incredible. I cannot lie to you. It is truly one of my favorite superhero shows ever, despite the animation, which we will get to in a second. But first, I want to talk about some stuff I actually really liked. So Young Justice actually used to be my favorite superhero show before Invincible came around, and that show's animation was nothing to write home about. Like, it might actually have been it might actually have been worse than Invincible's animation now that I think back at it. But the thing that I think a lot of people liked about it, and that at least I liked about it, was that it had an amazing story and amazingly well written characters, and that pulled me in. Like, I was obsessed with what was going on with like all of the main characters. Even some of the side characters and like the B plots, the C plots were incredible. And that feeling gets kicked up to like 1,000,000 for Invincible, because this story, brother, it is true peak. And this is coming from someone who's read the comics, so I've got to say that they are adapting the story amazingly, specifically concerning some of the characters. Like, I really like some of the creative liberties they've taken with the characters, because a lot of people maybe don't know this, but it's pretty similar to the comic. The show is, in terms of like, they follow the story. Like, it's a pretty one-to-one in terms of like the main story that they're following, but they do actually take a lot of creative liberties. So just without trying to spoil anything too much, I just want to talk about a few of my favorite creative liberties that they've done in terms of like making the story and the characters better. My first one is Debbie, bro. In the comics, Debbie is criminally underwritten, bro. Basically, the extent of her character is she bangs Omni-Man and then she drinks a lot, and because she's sad that Omni-Man was a bad guy for a little bit. But that's as much as I can talk about it without spoiling too much. But I can tell you for sure her character pretty much doesn't go outside of that. Well, there's a couple of other traits, like she really loves Mark and Oliver, but like those are her traits right there. And I love that the show, for one, handles her struggles with alcoholism in a much more tasteful manner. It's way better written than it is in the comics. Also, her character in general is way better written. Like, in the comics, she's not a realtor. She like takes the realty exam, but they never even talk about her passing it or anything. They literally just drop that as a plot. So she's not a realtor. She doesn't have any coworkers or anything. She literally doesn't have any friends. She tries to make a friend. They drop that plot line completely. So Debbie, incredibly written in this show. I love it. I'm really glad about the way they choose to use the budget, because those voice actors really help make those characters better. You know what I'm saying? If they were gonna pick one, animation or voice acting, I'm glad they picked voice acting, because it really helps the story shine that much more, on top of their ability to write it and adapt it from the comic. Another one that I really like, and it's like a light spoiler here, very light spoiler, so I'm warning you right now, it's a very light spoiler for episode 8 of season 3. Because Eve does get into a little bit of boxing with Conquest, and in the comic is pretty like, it's like a couple of panels maybe, and their encounter is pretty much done. So I love the way the show kind of animates her boxing with Conquest. Basically, she gets some really good shots in on Conquest, and I like that, because in the comics she didn't really get that. And another kind of light spoiler, if you haven't seen like the last 3 episodes of season 3, I love the way Conquest and the evil Invincibles are characterized. They, like, without a doubt, they are characterized way better. The evil Invincibles are given like character that they just aren't even given in the comic. Like when that one Mark says, "I miss William," bro, that was peak, bro, because they don't get anything like that in the comics. Like, not at all, not at all. But then the shit with Conquest, bro, like when he makes that bubble thing with the heart, bro, and that shit was disgusting, but at the same time I was like, damn, that's peak for his character, because he's really like that. And then light spoiler coming up, when he gets in close to Mark and he starts genuinely talking about how he's like lonely and how even the Viltrumites don't fuck with him, and you could see his eyebrows kind of like furrow a little bit. Like, bro actually got sad when he was saying that, and he like uses that to communicate like why he is such a fucking psycho. That shit was peak, because Conquest in the comics gets none of that, gang. He doesn't get any of that, bro. Like, the extent that Conquest gets is basically what you saw at the end of episode 7 in season 3. That's the Conquest that is in the comics. There's nothing else special about him. He's a psycho, he likes to box, that's the extent of it. So I love what they did with this character, bro. So normally I get scared when shows like to take creative liberties. Like, just look at the way Game of Thrones turned out. Not too great, but Invincible has done it the best I've ever seen it done by a country mile. And I'm excited because this probably means that we're gonna see other amazing characters get expanded in the similar way that like Debbie, the evil Invincibles, or Conquest was. People that definitely deserved more character development. Some people I'd definitely like to see that for would be Battle Beast and Anissa. They're two really cool characters, and people like, well, depending on what you know about Anissa so far, you might not like her. It depends on your alignment with like ethics, but she's an interesting character nonetheless. And of course, bro, we all love Battle Beast, but they are criminally underwritten, especially Battle Beast, to the point where they're making a new comic, Image Comics is, and it's just about Battle Beast. It's going to be very interesting because of how underwritten Battle Beast is. It's not that he's poorly written, it's just that like his character is not expanded upon, and I feel like the show is gonna have an opportunity to do that within the story of Invincible, within the Invincible canon, and that's gonna be very interesting to see. But all right, we gotta get to the bad, bro. We gotta get to the bad, bro. We gotta get to the bad, bro. It really sucks to have to say this, but like I have to say it every time because I always have to say Invincible is my favorite show in the last 10 years, despite the animation. And bro, no matter what anyone tries to tell you, the animation is like objectively not good. I feel like the animators are doing their best given the resources, given the time, so I don't want to call it bad, but people are trying to really cope with it and say like, no, the animation is good. I even had a few homies come in and say, boom, didn't you see episode 8? Like, you can't say the animation isn't bad anymore, like look at that. And I'm like, my brother in Christ, they had moving PNGs during the Conquest versus Invincible fight. You can literally see the still frames of them just staring at each other for like 5 seconds at a time. It hurts so bad. Even me, like, I want to cope, bro, but like you can't call that good animation. You simply cannot. You can say they're doing their best given the resources, and they did budget correctly. Like if they were gonna save budget for anything, it's good that they saved budget for like episode 7 and especially episode 8, because clearly it's better than the rest of the season. But like the animation is dipping in quality, that's objectively observable, and compared to, you know, other like animated media, it's not the best animation. That's just what it is. Like bro, just take a look at some of those still shots, take a look at some of those PNGs, look me in the eye and tell me you still think it's good animation, bro. Manageable, decent, okay, I'll let you get away with that, but good, bro, I'm not going, I'm sorry. But the cool thing is it doesn't ruin the show at all, bro, because honestly it's kind of to the point where it almost adds to the experience, because like you're like, dang, what are they gonna do with the animation this week? But make no mistake, it is bad. And so because of that, even though it doesn't ruin the show, I would like to see Amazon spare, you know, a few more dollars. I'm sure they can afford to spare a few more dollars, you know, for animation for season 4 and moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Maybe an extra $1 or $2. I'm sure y'all can afford it. But I do actually want to talk about one more gripe that I have, and I guess this is more so with the Invincible story in general, because this is actually a problem with the comic that the show actually is trying to correct, based on my theory that I kind of have. I gotta put like my little tinfoil cap on because I might be reaching here. But first I have to tell you, Conquest is actually my favorite Viltrumite character in the comic. So that includes Mark and all of his variants, Omni-Man, Oliver. There's a lot of Viltrumites. There's Viltrumites in the story, bro, gang. It's gonna be some Viltrumites and shit like that. Conquest is definitely my favorite Viltrumite, even including, spoiler, Thrag, who is like truly a GOAT Viltrumite, but I mean, Conquest hasn't beat for me personally. So huge spoiler coming up. Like this is probably the biggest spoiler that I'm gonna talk about. So pretty much from here on out, if you don't want like any major spoilers for the episode and probably for the story moving forward, you might want to check out right here. But going back to the point I was talking about with like how they're taking creative liberties, I'm actually really excited to see how they further characterize Conquest, because this part of the story is truly like the death of Cecil's character, because him keeping Conquest alive flies in the face of pretty much everything he's ever stood for. And Cecil is more Cecil in the comics. He's more like cutthroat, you know, like I'm here to save the planet, I don't care about anything else. The show gives him a lot more empathy. It humanizes him a lot more. He's not that in the comics. He's literally like, I will kill anybody. I will do anything. I will commit any atrocity to protect the planet. You know what I'm saying? Like he's really like that in the comics. He's like that in the show, but he's really like that in the comics. So to hear him say, and he says the same thing in the comic, bro. He's like, we've got him under like all this special metal. We've got him 6 miles below ground. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. And Conquest does escape. Like, bro, I don't have to even tell you. It's not even a spoiler. He escapes, bro. Like, of course he escapes. That wouldn't hold Mark. That wouldn't hold Omni-Man. What makes you think it's finna hold Conquest? You're tripping. You're tripping. I'm like, that shit wouldn't hold Oliver, bro. Let's be real. But here's my little like tinfoil cap theory is that maybe they're characterizing Conquest because they actually will have some kind of interaction to where like it kind of justifies Cecil keeping him alive, because spoilers, in the comic, he escapes and then Cecil doesn't get any of the information he's talking about. He's talking about, oh, I'm keeping him alive to get information. That shit never had. He doesn't get any of that. Conquest just escapes. He's like, thanks for saving my life. He doesn't even say thank you. He's just like, you're dumb as fuck, and he leaves. So I'm hoping that because they're characterizing Conquest, maybe they'll be like, Conquest has this like deep feeling of loneliness, and that somehow makes him like relate to Cecil. Maybe they have even just like a brief 2-minute exchange will help really justify why Cecil does this. Even if he ends up escaping in the end, maybe like Cecil gets a bit of information, something valuable that he didn't get in the comics, and they still find a way to kind of connect it to the overarching story. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic, but if they can justify that in any way through like the character building they're trying to do, the characterization that they're trying to do with Conquest, it could be very interesting. I'm probably reaching here. I'm grasping at straws. Honestly, it might have just been them saying, hey, Conquest is a pretty cool character. Let's give him some lines. Jeffrey Dean Morgan isn't here for free, so like, let's get our money's worth. It could be that too, because one thing I didn't say is bro crushed it. There was so many times I wanted to call that man Negan. It's not even funny, bro. They ate. They truly ate. But that being said, you know what I'm saying? I still really feel like hopefully the reason they did give him some of that character is because they want to have him have some kind of interaction that does redeem Cecil's character. But hey, that's what I think about season 3. I thought that shit was peak. Thought it was the best season so far. It has me very excited for the rest of the series. Kirkman said he's going for like 7 or 8 seasons, so I'm excited. Again, hopefully that animation gets better, because you are lying to yourself if you think that shit is good. Let me know what you think though. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.